Hi folks, welcome back to Glesga News. Right, it's Tuesday the 7th of April 2020. We're still in the middle of this, I like to call it now, or I will be calling it the CCP virus. That's the Chinese Communist Party virus. And the title of this video is China Payback. What do I mean by that? Well, as I speak to you now, the Prime Minister of the UK, to all intensive purposes, the leader of the UK government, is seriously ill in hospital and is allegedly now in ICU, intensive care unit, at a hospital in London, probably having pneumonia and breathing difficulties. Could ultimately face being on a ventilator himself, which is horrendous. Not as horrendous as people that have lost family, children. A wee 5-year-old boy died recently. A 13-year-old boy died recently. Their parents can't even go to their funeral. When people go to the funeral, they've got to stand metres away. You're not allowed to go into the church or the synagogue or the mosque to pay your respects to your loved one. So how's China going to pay back for this? Because they should be paying back, shouldn't they? You know, if this was an accident, why did they not come out and tell us? Look, we've had a problem. It's because they've got previous. And anybody with previous learns the lesson, keep your mouth shut. That's what it's about. That's why they never said anything. I mean, they locked down their entire country, but never tell anybody it was really that bad. Don't worry about it. Taiwan, right, which is just a few miles off the coast, well, just it's attached to it, isn't it? It's just along the coast for China. China actually says that Taiwan is part of its kingdom. They warned the World Health Organization that they were picking up in their own social media. There's a lot of Chinese people there. They were picking up that there was a really contagious virus rattling round about China in the weeks before anybody knew anything about it. And Taiwan themselves have been affected by previous leaks of viruses for China, or previous outbreaks for China. So much so that Taiwan has actually reacted to this the best of anywhere in the world. They've not locked down their country because they were all prepped for it. They knew it was going to happen again, and the minute it happened they were right onto it. But that's a video for a later date. But good luck to the Taiwanese people. They need help. You fucking Chinese bastards. Anyway, the story of how the novel, the CCP Corona, emerged in Wuhan, China, has produced a nasty propaganda battle between the United States and China. The two sides have traded some of the sharpest charges made between two nations since the Soviet Union in 1985 falsely accused the CIA of manufacturing AIDS. Well, I thought they did. US intelligence officials don't think this pandemic was caused by deliberate wrongdoing. The outbreak that has now swept the world instead began with a simpler story, albeit one with tragic consequences. The prime suspect at the moment is natural transmission from bats to humans, I write, perhaps through unsanitary markets, but scientists don't rule out that an accident at a research laboratory in Wuhan might have spread the deadly bat virus that had been collected for scientific study. Well, the plot thickens, doesn't it? Up to now this has been a conspiracy theory. But there you go. The UK government reportedly believes the coronavirus, the CCP virus, COVID-19 outbreak may have started in a Chinese laboratory. So where's that coming from? Well, see, it's not just the alphabet agencies, the CIA, the FBI, the NSA, the NRO, They get to know stuff. We've got GCHQ, we've got MI5, we've got MI6. We've got Five Eyes, and that reaches out to Australia. And all that information's shared. So that information that the Americans have got, and the Australians have got, and the British have got, has reached Whitehall. A UK parliamentary committee last week accused the Chinese government of spreading disinformation about the origins of the virus. It's getting hotter, isn't it? Perhaps, they said, it's no coincidence that there is that laboratory in Wuhan, one government official told the Mail and Sundry. But what laboratory? Lobotomy, more like for me. Which laboratory is he talking about? He seems to be specifically aiming at one. Well, I'm going to tell you about that one in a wee minute. China dished out wild, irresponsible allegations of its own. On March the 12th, the Chinese Foreign Ministry spokesman Liao Xiao charged in a tweet, "It might be the US Army who brought the epidemic to Wuhan." He retweeted an article that claimed without evidence that US troops might have spread the virus when they attended the World Military Games in Wuhan in October 2019. Is that right? Then how come the US Army isn't riddled with it? How come that fucking unit, the units that were there, aren't absolutely dying on their feet? Because they would have been the first to have it. They would have been the carriers. It would have hit America before it hit China. No, I'm afraid that doesn't hold water, China. All that is somebody that knows they're caught saying, "I never done it. He done it." It's reverse psychology, you know. Blame somebody else for what you're doing. Politicians use that tactic all the time. Still, it says here, lab safety has been a problem in China. A safety breach at a Chinese Centre for Disease Control and Prevention lab is believed to have caused 4 suspected SARS cases, including 1 death in Beijing in 2004. A similar accident caused 65 lab workers in Lanzhou Veterinary Research Institute to be infected with Brucellosis in December 2019, Hang wrote. In January 2020, a renowned Chinese scientist, Li Ning, was sentenced to 12 years in prison for selling experimental animals to local markets. So what that means is, that scientist there, Li Ning, who got 12 years, isn't he getting paid much money? Maybe he's got debts because you know how they like to gamble. So he's totally skint. So he starts selling animals that they're experimenting on. So that means animals that they're injecting with viruses. He's selling them to the local disgusting market. You know how they chop up dogs and cats, you know, and all sorts of wild animals. Yang Zongheng, a senior fellow for global health at the Council on Foreign Relations, recently wrote an article for Foreign Affairs that is dismissive of conspiracy theories about the origins of the pandemic, but also mentions circumstantial evidence that supports the possibility that a lab release was involved. Now, what does he mean by conspiracy theories? Well, a lot of people are saying, oh, it's a bioweapon, they've definitely infected the world deliberately. Don't believe that. That's not what happened. I don't believe that's what's happened. This is much easier to work out. The evidence includes a study conducted by South China University of Technology that concluded that the coronavirus, the CCP virus, the Chinese Communist Party virus, probably originated in the Wuhan Centre for Disease Control and Prevention, located, get this, just 280 metres from the Hunan seafood market, often cited as the source of the original outbreak. So the horrible, stinking open market, the Hunan seafood market, is 280 metres away from the Wuhan Centre for Disease Control and Prevention. This is the very centre where the scientist was selling experimental animals to the market. Are you starting to get the picture? Is it changing for you now? I think it should be, because it's changed for me. But I want payback. And how are we going to get payback? That's the question. Professor Richard Elmbright of Rutgers University Institute of Microbiology. Now this guy's a biosecurity expert. He's been speaking out on lab safety since the early 2000s. He does agree that with the Nature Medicine's author's argument that the new virus wasn't purposely manipulated by humans. He points out that scientists in Wuhan have collected and already publicised a bat corona or CCP virus called rat-13, one that is 96% genetically similar to SARS and CoV-2. Now, the Nature Medicine authors were arguing against any hypothesis that this publicised virus that the Chinese have already said they've got and that they've collected is actually the genesis of COVID-19. But Elmbright says the authors relied on assumptions about when the viral ancestor jumped to humans, how fast it evolved before that, how fast it evolved as it adapted to humans, and the possibility that the virus may have mutated in cell cultures or experimental animals inside a lab. So he's basically pointing that out. But Elmbright thinks that it is possible that the Chinese Communist Party virus pandemic started as an accidental release from a laboratory, such as one of the two in Wuhan that are known to have been studying bat coronaviruses. Now they're studying it, that's where it came out of. Except two deadly viruses that have caused outbreaks in the past have been studied at laboratories that are labelled as operating at moderate biosafety level. Now these places they're known, as it says here, as BSL2. Elmbright says bat coronaviruses have been studied at such labs in and around Wuhan, China, where the new coronavirus first emerged. As a result, Elmbright says, bat coronavirus at Wuhan Centre for Disease Control and Wuhan Institute of Virology routinely were collected and studied at BSL-2, which provides only minimal protection against infection of lab workers. Higher safety levels would be appropriate for a virus with the characteristics of the new coronavirus causing the current pandemic. So, some mental Chinese lab tech has got to sell, it's one of two things. He's got to sell accidentally contaminated, he's went out to buy something and he's passed it out to somebody else, or somebody else has sold another infected animal to that Wuhan market and the people in the Wuhan market have picked it up off it. Now this paper that all this information was on was later removed from the ResearchGate, a commercial social networking site for scientists and researchers to share papers. Huang wrote, thus far, no scientists have confirmed or refuted the paper's findings. So what are we going to do about it, folks? What can we do about it? Do we bomb the shit out of China? No, because they'll bomb the shit out of us. But what we need to do is start changing how we treat China. Remember, China has become strong. China is the giant it is because they did what we used to do. They nationalised everything. So if they're in the steel industry, it's a nationalised steel industry and they just keep pumping money right into it to make it the best in the world, and they undercut the rest of the world. But we have world trade rules. We don't do that, right? So we're weakened by that. They know that. And this tactic that they use is what they use in every sphere of manufacturing that they're in. They undercut, pump all the money back into it and undercut. They don't pay any good money to anybody. And we here, the multinationals, the politicians, we've all been just too happy to go along with it. No much, and much more so in the field of medicines. Now, medicines are a strategic thing. If we're at war with China, an economic war or a real hot war with China, they're going to hold back on all our medicines. They didn't invent fucking penicillin, antibiotics. They're parasites, right? They steal all our inventions and they use them, all right? We in the West developed these things. We invented them. But because the patents run out, they can become generic, and the active ingredients are now being made in China. So much so that they have cornered the market and all the resources to make these crucial medicines. You know, Boris Johnson's, as I said, is possible on a ventilator. Now, most ventilator systems are, I would imagine, are invasive. That means they need to put a tube down your throat. You can't just say to a guy, open up and stick a tube down your throat, because you'll start gagging. So what they need to do is heavily sedate you. Then they need to give you muscle relaxants. Alright? And then they need to give you painkillers. Do you know that apart from the shortage in respirators, the drugs to enable the use of respirators are low? Where did they come from? China. Right? And China recently said, or somebody from China said, that we'll just start restricting your medicines. That is a wake-up call. That is deliberate. Considering what they've done, they can say, we'll hold back your medicine. Where are all the planes? If they were innocent, where are all the planes arriving full of equipment for nothing? They're still selling the respirators. They're still selling the medicines. If they were being honest, they would just say, look, this is our fault and we're going to do everything in our power. My country, that Xiaoping bastard, should just be saying, this was our fault, we take full responsibility for it and we're going to try and fix it. We can't help you out money-wise now. We will send reparations because they need to start paying us money, right? But we will start firing out respirators, medicines, everything free of charge, and there should be hundreds of Chinese flights arriving in every airport in the world. Ships should be arriving fully up. But where are they? So they are our enemy. That's what they're telling you. And we need to do something about it. So you let me know what you think payback should be. So that's all I've got to say on that. Peace out.